Field from Career Mum Support. It's good to be back with you again. I want to talk to you today about why learning to say no will keep your life on track. Have you noticed that many of us say yes when really all we want to do is say no? I know there's been times in my life when I've been asked to do something and my very, very being inside me is screaming, no, no, no. Or else I'm saying to myself, I don't want to do that. Why don't you go and ask someone else? Why do you always have to come and ask me? I haven't got time to do that. I hate doing that. I don't think I know enough about that. If I don't say yes, then they'll think I don't care. All those things sort of go round and round and round, and yet somehow we find out of our mouths come yes. As I write this, I'm wondering if you can fill in your own little voice, you know, the one that talks to you in your mind. The point is, most of us can think of times when we've said yes and what we really want to do was say no, and we suffer the consequences, and other people around us suffer the consequences. We've too much to do, we become time poor, we get overwhelmed, we get stressed, we let others down, we have to reschedule, postpone or cancel other things just to fit in what we've agreed to do. We become, if you like, an easy target, and more importantly, we set ourselves up, and maybe even worse, we set other people's up as well for failure. So why do we do it? Well, there are a multitude of reasons, and here are just some. You know, the ones trying to please everyone, suffering from comparison to others, you know, if she does it then I'll do it, if he does it then I ought to be doing it as well. Wanting to be liked, I think all of us want to be liked really. Maybe unsure of your or our own boundaries, low self-confidence, low self-esteem, guilt, sometimes it's purely through guilt. Our culture, you know, particularly around charitable works and things, our culture is that we like to feel that we're giving to charity, and maybe just downright inexperience. So how do we turn a yes to a no? Well, in theory, it's relatively easy. And I'm sure if you jumped onto the internet and Googled it, there'll be 101 articles on how to do it, 5 quick steps, and there you go, you've done it, and brilliant, off you can go. And you know next time that somebody asks you to do something, if you want to say no, you'll be able to. I wish. I don't think that's really true of many of us. Many of us actually struggle around this area. So actually, I thought maybe what would be really helpful, and I know it was helpful for me, was to share with you 3 things that you can do to just start to build a no muscle. We can go more into it later on in another video log. But for now, let's just look at 3 things that you could do to build your no muscle. So I think the first thing is actually to look at what's happened in the past when you've said no. Notice those times when actually you said yes when you really wanted to say no. Look for the patterns and notice what emotions you actually felt. Write them down and look through that writing which areas are most prolific. There might be one that actually jumps out at you and causes you many more difficulties, and usually there's quite strong emotions around it as well. So once you've done that, prioritise your list from the most prolific down to the least. And if you can, list the emotions that you had at the time or have attached to that memory now while you think about it, because that will help you later on to discover how to move onwards from that. Now, number 2, now you've got your list, take the least prolific. Let's start with the smallest area first. Let's not take a great big chunk and think everything's going to change. Let's just take one little small area first. And notice what might have happened if you actually said no. Very often, what we run is a sort of what if scenario. And when we do that, what we tend to do is we fill in with negatives rather than positives. For example, if I look at a time when my boss perhaps asked me to take on an extra project that I really didn't have time for, then I think probably what I would have been saying to myself is, if I don't take this on, he's going to think that I'm not willing to support the team. Or He might think that I'll not qualify for a pay rise or promotion, or he might think I'm unwilling to take on more because I have a family. You get the idea anyway. All those things are negative. However, if we look at the positives rather than negatives, just see what happens. If I say no, she'll see that I don't have time because I already achieve so much. If I say no, he'll notice that I want to encourage others. And if I say no, he'll realise that I'm not the best person on this team to be doing this. Work through your list and change your negatives to positives. This encourages you to start looking at positive reasons to say no rather than the negative. This helps in building the confidence muscle, which in turn builds that no muscle. And the third thing I'd like you to do is I'd like you to choose to press pause. So when somebody asks you to do something and that little voice already starts firing off, instead of answering straight away, take a moment to think about what is being asked. Once you've considered the request, then one of the best ways to deliver a confident no that is readily accepted is to be empathetic in the way you deliver it. Give a reason for either not doing it yourself or why someone else might be suitable. Perhaps somebody's just hinting at it and you can empathise about the problem. Say, yeah, I know that's really a difficult problem to have. I wish you well in that. Simple as that. Don't get involved, don't get invited to take part. If your boss asks you to do something that you really don't have time for, then press the pause. Have a think about it. See if you can juggle things around. And if you were to juggle things around, would that benefit you? Would that benefit your other projects? Would it benefit your team? Would it actually benefit what he's asking you to do? If the answer to all those things is yes, then it's time to juggle. If the answer is definitely no, then come back and make a suggestion. So the suggestion might be something like, yes, I'd like to take that on for you. However, I've got this, and this. So if you are able to wait for 3 or 4 weeks, then I can make sure I give it my best. Or perhaps another way. I'm sorry, at the moment I have many projects on board and I will not be able to get it done in the timescale. However, X over there may well have some time. It's probably worth asking them so it fits in your timescales. There's always a way that you can turn it round. So, just to recap, take some time firstly to look at your own patterns, find out where you tend to say yes when it should be no, and then work out what emotions are attached to that, because emotions are a strong pull. And on another video log, I will talk to you about how we could clear those emotions off to make it easier for you. Number 2, once you've got your list, start with the least prolific. Remember, one small step at a time, because we're going to start building that no muscle, and look at the what if scenarios. Look at perhaps seeing the difference between the what if in a negative sense and the what if in the positive sense. And thirdly, when you're asked to do something or take part in something that absolutely every part of your being is screaming no, no, no for whatever reason, instead of answering straight away, take a moment to think about what is being asked. And by the way, this relates to both work and home and with your children. And I'll say and with your children because all too often we go on to what I call automatic. We're busy, we haven't got time and whatever, and we're not looking at perhaps what it might mean to your little person if you were to take whatever it is on board. So with that little tiny 3 steps to help build the no muscle, I hope that will help you. I know it's certainly started to help me, and I'll be delighted to add more to this later. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.